To today's presentation, Modernizing ServiceNow Test. So excited to share this with you. My name is Dawn Simmons, and I'll be presenting ServiceNow's automated and now AI-powered platform testing and auto documentation features, and why this is so exciting for ServiceNow users, particularly those looking to keep pace with the incredible experience that is ServiceNow Xanadu. We'll be presenting AutomatePro as a way to make progress on your test, automation, and documentation. Our agenda today, we will provide a brief update on why this is so important, switching from manual test to automated testing for your ServiceNow applications. We'll share the benefits and a quick demo of how to leverage AI to generate tests faster than manual tests and faster than converting your manual test to automated tests. We will then take those tests that have been converted from manual to automated or quick start AI and use that to create rapid automated documentation, guided tours, knowledge base articles, so that you can keep up with the release and immediately generate the OCM, the training documents, and all the new features that are coming as a result of your automated criteria. You can get on new instances, new updates faster. So we will talk about automating ServiceNow successes. AutomatePro is ServiceNow test automation. It is AI capable, and it also takes your tests and write them once, run them forever, but also as things change in your environment within a couple of minutes tops, you can edit for the new changes and generate automated ServiceNow documentation. This is accelerated end-to-end testing, reusable, less error, better coverage, and automated test documentation conversion. So what are we talking about here? When we talk about how enterprises are using AutomatePro, one of the case studies that I happened to be a part of was for a large life sciences company. And the reason that they were interested in AutomatePro is they really just needed some relief. To get on ServiceNow, it was taking forever to keep up with the service desk updates. They would be, a couple of years behind, and then what they wanted was up in the future and they couldn't get there. So they were struggling to keep up with the updates. Manual testing was wasting time and resource, but what are you going to do? You have to get tested or you're going to break things. So what they did is they were slow in adoption because of the risk, and it kept them from experiencing the new features, the bug fixes, and things that they needed to do business more effectively. So after implementation of AutomatePro, they had faster adoption of ServiceNow. They had better ServiceNow upgrade parity. In fact, the end results from QA at this team, from the QA manager, 75% test time reduction. That's a huge savings. What used to take weeks to complete now was done in 2 days. They had 50% improved test coverage. So instead of testing what we can with the limited resources manually, they could run the tests, provide very good quality validation of that testing, and add and keep pace with changes in the product so that their test cases were always current and ready for upgrade. This resulted in 60% faster ServiceNow platform upgrade release cycles. So what they used to do in 4 to 6 months to get ready, they could now complete into 2 months. That was a huge success. Why does that work? We'll talk into the testing efficiency journey and what that looks like. When we go from the initial setup in manual testing versus automated testing versus AI, there's huge economies of scale. So you can go from with manual test, you have to run that every time. With automated tests, when you convert your automated test to manual, it takes 3 to 4 hours to set up what you were doing manually, but you do that once and then it's done. It's ready to run in whenever you need it. The only times you would need to change that is when the environment itself changes. So write it once, run it forever, where the manual test would take 3 or more hours every time you would try to upgrade, and every time you would try to run that test. Future adjustments, 2 hours in manual test. It would take 10 to 15 minutes to update your existing test automation to be ready for any changes in the product set. Your efficiency for manual testing is low. That's the best you can do is low. Your automated test, when you convert your manual testing to automation, is high, but not as high as AI, which we'll be introducing you to today. What takes 3 to 4 hours in manual or automation in AI can complete within an hour. Now, the trick to AI, most of you probably used it by now, is you let it run, but you always validate it. AI testing is no exception. So what you do is you run it, you run a defect check to make sure it works, and you align the test results to your expected criteria. But still, it is a very high efficiency of scale because what AI can do is look at your existing test cases or allow you to fill out a form and it will automatically build the test cases and test steps for you. Then all you're doing is error checking, very much faster. So that gives you an idea of the testing efficiencies and the economies of scale, where setup 0 hours for manual testing, 3 to 4 hours for automated, 1 hour for AI. When you go to test and prepare for test, 6 hours a year for manual, 30 to 45 minutes a year for automated, because you're writing it once and just refining it to make sure it's current, and 15 minutes a year for AI. For future adjustments or changes in the product set, you will spend about 5 hours a year in manual testing. You spend about 30 to 40 minutes a year in automated testing and literally minutes in AI. So highly efficient. You have the options of high or very high. There's a lot of capabilities with AutomatePro, and we're very excited to introduce you. We'll start with the test console. And the test console, I'll get into a demonstration of this, as well as what automated test looks like, and then we'll get into a demo of AI. This is the control console. Before I get into the actual tool, I'll show you what it contains. There are enterprise metrics. There are test blocks. Everything in green is related to tests that have already been run, and everything that's in blue relates to, the top part is navigation on how to create a test plan, view a test plan, view tests that have run. The bottom part is information like support, getting started, release notes. So, are you ready? Let's get into a demo. I'm going to stop share and reshare. Okay, now sharing my control console. This is AutomatePro's control console is integrated right into your instance. So it's accessed from your standard ServiceNow filter menu by simply typing Control Console, and you will select the first console, and that's this one that you see here. As I mentioned, everything that's in green relates to tests that have already been run. You can group your tests view this as like a library or a reference place for your testing. You can create test packs by theme for things like service catalog testing, change, incident knowledge, portal, problem, some sort of training themes. You could do release test packs. And this allows you to do end-to-end test of all of the tests for a given product. So in this example, if I bring up Service Catalog, we have a whole bunch of request items that we could run. And by doing this, we can actually just select all of those test cases. We could run those all currently in the test runs. We're not going to do that now because that's not what today's about. That's another session. You can view recent test run results, recently viewed test plans, and recently viewed test blocks. This allows you to see what people are using most frequently. View test blocks as many process steps grouped together like a macro so you can create your test cases more efficiently. So for example, create a store application record might let you log in, navigate, and do something, or a create incident record would allow you to log in, navigate to the incident or maybe service operations workspace, navigate to incident, and create a new ticket. Now, we have recently viewed test blocks, and we've got the navigation section. Create new test plan, view test plans, view test results. Quick Start AI, documents, automatic documents, and then the bottom part is the information that I referred to. This is where you go to learn what are the release notes that you're on, how do you get started, and how do I create an incident when something's not looking as expected. Now today, we're not going to create a new test plan from scratch. That involves, but when we go to do this, we select Create Test Plan, we name it, we fill out some basic data, and we hit Submit. And that will allow us to define step by step the same type of thing you would do with manual tests, only you would be telling it, the machine, one step at a time, log in, go here, navigate here, and those configuration details. If you wanted to see an example of what that looks like, you can click on View Test Plans to see some samples of test plans that have recently been done. I will go into a manual incident create, since that is the automation that I'll also be sharing with you. This is a manual test. After you hit that create test and you fill out the forms, when you hit submit, these test blocks will be created. A blank test block will be created, and you add these one at a time. You would either do new to do a new action. Actions allow you to pick the type of, so you'll name the activity. Everything begins with logging in, so you'd call it login, and then you might choose process, login. In this case, remember I talked about model blocks. Model blocks allow you to select a pre-configured login and just use that over and over again. So like copy and paste a process. Pretty nice. So what this does is this one will let you log in as a caller, and the second step will allow you to navigate to create a new module. This is your first segment of steps, 10 steps, and the second part is step 2. This is only doing one-on-one check, which means it's not a complete process yet, but this is one that somebody is building out to be completed. This is what your test plans look like. Going back to the control console, I will get now, we've shared view test plans, view test results. When you've got a test that has been converted to successfully, and it has passed, you'll see a visual status. Green is passed, red is defects that they're still working on. Remember, I said every test, whether it's run manually or via AI, goes through a defect management process as you run it. Here is a successful test. We'll look at that briefly before we get into the AI features. Now, we see this was a run status is executed. The test was completely successful. And this test logs in as this user, AmpITIL, and it creates an incident record. Let's look at what that looks like from the tool by clicking the Test Run Viewer button at the top. This, like a manual test where you're navigating and taking a screenshot, this automatically creates that for you. So kind of like a movie, it'll tell you each step. Here at this step, we're logging in as AmpITIL user. That passed. We are then navigating. We're creating an incident record. That was successful. Navigating to resolved. Click the new button. We create the record. We type text into the key fields. Here you see that text starting to get populated. Those are the required fields to create your incident, your priority, and the log out of the system. That was a successful test, end to end. When you're done with those tests and you've got a green end to end, you can very quickly do things like create a user guide in minutes. You take your successful test and generate document. Now, can you imagine the ability to create a test in a couple of hours, but then run it whenever you need it and create the documents you need right away? That's exciting, and this is what it looks like. So we can create a KB article directly from the successful test and select the knowledge base in ServiceNow that we want to post that to. In this example, I'm going to select the AutomatePro knowledge base and say, generate the document. When this rainbow donut of possibility whirls, that means your tests are being generated or your request is being generated. In this case, you will see we now have a ServiceNow knowledge article from that successful test. And as we scroll through, this is an editable reference of every step of the test. This allows you to take out the parts that you don't find are necessary, but you'll see it's in draft state. When it's ready, you just simply select Publish, and voila, your document article has now been published. Easy. Edit, create a copy, view a copy. So now we have covered Control Console, navigation, create a ticket, view test plans, view test results. We've talked about how to convert our successful test results into automated knowledge articles. You can also create guided tours, user guides. You can create developer reports if you're still working in test and you have bugs to work out. That's a great way to communicate with the development team and increase the pace, because then you can get details of your defects and how to fix them. So now let's cover the AI features. To access AI, we go into the ServiceNow control panel and we type Quick Start. Quick Start AI has 3 different features it can test from. It can test from any ServiceNow form. It can test from a catalog item, or a new feature is it can create a test from a record producer in the ServiceNow system. For today's demo, I'm going to select Create a Form Test. In that, we can choose to test UI. This is the Polaris is the user environment that ServiceNow is using. You can test from that, or if you're using Service Operations Workspace, you can use that. Most of our users are using the back end, so we will select UI 16. We're going to submit a form, create a test plan called AI Create New Incident. Then I'm going to use a test block to log in. And that test block, we have a list of all the different types of users that, standard approvals, fulfillers, whatever. But our general user is this AMP ITIL user. The form that we want to select, we will type incident, and we want the incident table. We will use the default view and navigate via menu item to create a new incident. Now, we can go into the incident table and select an incident that's already been populated, and it'll copy the features of that form. If we go into preview this record, you can see what that looks like. This is an already populated incident. If you wanted to see the whole record, you can click open record just like you do in ServiceNow. Now, that didn't take us so long. This is all it takes to generate an AI. Then we click generate. And the magic window of AutomatePro Rainbow Possibility will whirl. This as it creates your test cases. You will see now that AutomatePro has created a new incident using AI. I want to attribute this to the incident folder so that my test shows up when people are looking up incident tests. AutomatePro will automatically create a description of what we're testing. In this case, we've automatically generated an incident using data from a record from an existing incident. And what are the steps for that? Well, there's first test step is logging in as the AMP ITIL user. There is one test step and one check to make sure you've logged in. Then we create the incident record. That's the second block that runs. And there are 18 steps in that process and 20 checks. Let's look into that to see what that looks like. Now, what we will see as we look at what AutomatePro has done, it is first step is navigating to the create new module in the incident application. Navigate to module action. That's good. Performing the test steps. We're storing the ticket number that is created as the AG instance, which is basically keep this value. We want to use it later. Populate the caller reference and all the required fields for a standard incident. Type the short description, as that is a required field. Type the description of what is happening. We don't want to create knowledge. We don't want notes. You just basically select those options, click submit, and log out of the system. So when we're ready to test this, we will just simply click the Create Test Run button. Create Test Run. Well, then we select our target environment and include all blocks and initiate. Automate Rainbow of Wonders will run. Your run status on the left-hand side will show loaded, awaiting execution. Execution, once it begins, you'll see the visual status indicator start to show you overall how complete the execution of that run is on the particular steps below. So you'll see this representing the overall test strategy, and it will show you green if everything is passing. It'll show you a red blip when it has detected a defect. And if the red blip gets in the way of future processes, it may turn gray. So you will see green pass, red defect, gray if we had to stop the test, and sometimes, very rarely, you might see a system error black. The next segment is main information field. In the main information field, you will find, as the execution begins, test run percentage complete refers to what percentage of this test run is in progress. Right now, you will see the blue blip is on the first step, execution in process. So pretty soon, this visual status will start filling up. This test run percent complete will start filling up, and the test run percent passed will show you the percentage of that particular test that is passed. We scroll down, we've looked at all the steps that this is taking, creating your incident record, and all of the 18 test steps, and 20 test validations it's doing for the field entry to make sure that everything is okay. Right now, as we look at the visual status indicator, so far everything's green. Here's a little blip of red. So 16.67% of the test is complete. 12.5% has been passed. As we finish that test, I'm going to flip over, like the cooking shows, and show you a finished pie. As I finish this, the next step after you've finished this is you will look at the defects and see, what happened, what do I need to fix in this particular run. I'm going to click into test run, and I will show you a quick start incident that was run. It created the incident record and opened the newly created incident record. So this one, we click on then test run viewer. The test run viewer will show you, like we covered before, just like the conversion of a manual test to automated, the quick start viewer will show you the same view, like a video. Logging in to create an incident, log in as the AMP color, navigate to the create new module, which we're doing here. We are we're creating the incident record and storing the field. We're populating the configuration item reference. We're selecting phone as a channel, in progress, selecting the priority. In this case, we're setting the priority to high, which means that this particular test case could be used later in a major incident process as well. Right now, we're just creating a ticket, but you can understand how you would do this test, and then you would do the back end fulfiller acknowledgement validation of a major incident communication features. This is very scalable for the way your business runs. Now we have created our incident, we're logging out. Now the system is logging back in to validate that that newly created incident record is selectable by ServiceNow. So we're going into all, we're looking up the incident number that was stored, and voila, there we have our created quick start incident. We log out and our test is done. From that completed test, if there's any section that you wanted to grab to share with somebody, you can download the screenshot and immediately send that as an image file. Or we've showed you how to create a guided tour. You could create a test run report that gives you detail on if you had defects. You could show defect screenshots. You can generate that report within minutes. So there's all different kinds of automatic documentation that makes your life easier. In this case, a test run report. It'll show you the test run number, what are we testing, what were the results, what was the status, and what are each of the steps and how did they go. So in this case, I told you about the many different test steps. Well, it's all lined out right here. The originating reference, what percentage is complete, what percentage is passed. This is something you can use to create a KB article or save or send. It's portable, gives you all the steps and checks that are done automatically through your AI process. And then it has an appendix for any screenshots that you do not want to include. You just want to put into the appendix. That's possible too. So I am going to stop sharing now. That gives you a really good sense of, we've covered the control console. We've covered how to view your test steps, how to create a manual test step, how to convert your documents into Autodoc, and how to use AI to quickly produce a test. The only thing I didn't cover is how to manage defects. And remember, I talked about AI, the power of AI, but also the importance of human validation in AI. When you first run an AI run, you can expect to see some errors. In this case, failed and failed. Visual status shows we failed here. What happened? We click our test run viewer. And when we have defects, we also have these red bugs. The red bugs allows us yeah, we've showed you how to view this like a movie. The red bugs allow you to fast forward to the defect. In this case, this defect failed when it went to create the incident record and store the field as a dynamic value with the AG number. Well, what does that mean? What that means is there were problems when it went to try to select it. If you want more details on that to troubleshoot it, we can select View Defect. And here we can go into the View Defect and see that in this example, the storing the field as a dynamic value with the label AG incident number failed due to a runtime Lua error. In some of these, you may need to counsel with your team and have them help you on sorting out these defects. That's where, if you wanted to provide more details, you can grab that test run report and send that to your developer to show them where the defect occurred so they know and can help you to resolve that so you get a green status and completed process. I hope you found this presentation useful. I think I would close with just a few remaining thoughts, and that is the main thing that we'd like to summarize with is the best practices. So the key best practices are manual testing is time intensive. It's valuable for understanding. And in fact, we do recommend as you start to do these tests, you have a manual test running and you take each step as you write out the script for your automation testing. And that's efficient after you've set it up. It reduces manual efforts. Then AI is a nice quick way to say, okay, here is the form. Here's the data I want to put in it. Run a test for this. Or here's an existing ticket was created. Read the ticket and figure out the steps we need to test it. As you run these, as with AI and as with your library, it improves with time and use because every time you use it, you're checking it and improving the logic. So view this as a library. Create reusable blocks of steps that'll, if you find you're doing something regularly, you can create a model block and use that, sort of like what we did with log in, navigate to, and do this action. Think of those types of actions as it relates to your product. You can set up monitoring and regular defect reviews for certain types of tests. Let's say, for example, you set up an AI test to validate your releases are current on the app manager. That's something every product owner needs to do. But app updates are kind of hard to, you might miss the email notification that there's a new update. In this case, you can set up monitoring and get notified from your scheduled test on how, when there is a release change, and you can go out and look at that new release and see if you want to create a ticket to get that updated. I will close with that. I hope you found this helpful. If you are interested in more information, please connect to me on LinkedIn, or I do keep a knowledge base as I'm learning and applying AutomatePro. I'm so excited to share about it. I wanted more videos, and because I didn't see as much, I decided to start contributing to that community to show what's possible. So much is possible with AutomatePro. Dive in. I think you will find it enjoyable too. Anything that gets us to the latest functionality and the enhancements that uplift our clients and our end users and our support staff. Wow, that's magic. Let's be there. To our best practices. Thank you for tuning in today.